Now some might ask, hey Bill, don't we have the witness of Mary herself, our Blessed Mother, and Joseph for what happened at the birth?
That's my question.
Maybe we do. But that is never claimed by any of the 27 documents of our New Testament.
Why?
Well, and then that's a great question because it begs the question. Maybe because they weren't interested in it and therefore they never asked. So this was left for later people to.
Matthew. The writers of Matthew and Luke never met Mary.
Yeah, that's right. Despite what small t traditions say. Catholics also need to be able to distinguish big T tradition from small t tradition. Not everything we have as tradition is tradition. Follow? All right. Maybe we do have Mary and Joseph's witness somewhere in the material. Maybe. Not going to say we're absolutely sure we don't. But that's never claimed by Matthew or by Luke. So far as we know, since Joseph never appears in the story of Jesus' ministry, he was dead by the time Jesus got baptized by John.
30 years later.
Yeah. Mary, so that means he's not around 30, 40 years later to tell Matthew and Luke anything. Mary was still alive during the public ministry of Jesus, but she's never described as accompanying Jesus in his preaching and healing travels. We do not know what relationship Mary had to the apostolic preachers who preserved the tradition. Pious sentiment will not help us here, folks. Well, my rosary group said that doesn't help here, folks. Some people imagine Mary recounting to Matthew and Luke stories about the birth. But there's no suggestion of that in the New Testament, and indeed, there's no suggestion of that in the church in the early centuries that follow. The real challenge to the idea that the birth stories are simply Mary's reminiscences is that the two stories in Matthew chapter 1 and 2 and Luke chapter 1 and 2 are so totally different that it is very hard to imagine them coming from the same person. More romantic theologians have occasionally suggested that Joseph was the source of the story we find in Matthew, and that Mary was the source of the story we found in Luke. But if that were true, then evidently Mary and Joseph never spoke to one another. Because they had such totally different reminiscences of the same happenings.